Helen Ryan. How are you today?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Welcome to the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy. You're in the right place. Are you an entrepreneur, ma'am?
Yes, I do a lot of things. I've always wanted to do my own thing. So,
Luckily for you, that is the qualification for getting in the academy. So tell me about yourself and what you do.
well, I am in digital marketing. I run my own business. It started out as graphic design. Now I'm fairly up there now in age because I started my original studio in 1993 with my now ex-husband, and then I started this rendition of it in 2007. So I do graphic
Wow.
design, web development, PR for clients. So I'm switching more towards digital marketing now because there's so much out there. And I do
Wow.
that. And then I've written 3 books and I have a walking podcast. And then I used to have a line of t-shirts, and I can tell you about those, and then motivational bracelets. And I'm also working on courses. And I'm just trying to throw everything at the wall, because I love being busy and I love learning new things. And
Love
I
it.
get bored real easily. So,
So I think the first thing that we can do is to squash the notion that entrepreneurs, people who are gonna think they're gonna do one and done, entrepreneurship does not work that way. So I'd like to hear more about your journey. So you said you started a studio with your ex-husband. So that was an audio. That was what kind of studio was that?
oh, that was, I call it a studio. It was a graphic design studio back then. That was before we did websites, back in the early
Wow.
90s. Although I did
Okay.
my first website in 1997. But, yeah, so we started a graphic design studio. So we did just, yeah, just print, mostly print graphic design back then.
Wonderful. So we would call you an OG in the game. Here,
Yeah.
I'm so you
Yes.
are so you know something about so what has interested you the most moving from that era to digital era, like where people can create their own things and how, how do you feel about that?
Well, one of the things I'm gonna be working on is not just done for you, but not done with you, where I actually teach people how to do their own thing because I know that small businesses are often cash strapped and they can't afford a graphic designer. They can't afford, different things and they try to do things on Canva, but they don't know the basics of design. They don't know how to get it to look good.
I might be
And so
one.
I use Canva for like social media graphics, but I use Adobe Creative Suite for everything else. But there's a place for every tool.
So you're going to
But
create a course?
yeah, I'm gonna create a course for actually different courses and master classes
Oh,
for
wow.
entrepreneurs, how to do different things. I've written 3 books. I have a podcast, so I also like to teach people how to do that. How do you start writing a book? How do you publicize a book? And how do you do your own PR in general? And what else was and podcast. How do you start podcasting? Because
So I think
entrepreneurs
it's a
need to get out
great
there.
I think it's great for women because I'm 50 I'm above the 50
Me too. Me too.
51 to be exact. And I think it's something to be said for women learning to do these things because sometimes the young kids they've been exposed to that. We didn't come up in that era. So we've learned these things as adults
Yep.
actually. Where my daughters, they grew up in the digital age. So that's not out of so how what would you say to women who are of our age? I would say seasoned,
Yep. Seasoned.
who are maybe they work a job or maybe they've been at home and they want to make the transition and try entrepreneurship. What would you say to them as far as like if they say I don't have a logo yet, I don't have this, what would you tell them? Where should they start?
I think that they should start with they could do a basic logo. You can actually get it on Fiverr really inexpensively if you want, because I charge a lot for logos, but you can get good quality work on Fiverr. I don't knock that at all. And then
Good.
the hardest thing for everybody, including me, is to figure out what you want to offer. What is your messaging and who do you help? And then I would always recommend starting as a side hustle because unless you have a lot of money in savings, you don't just want to quit your job. And a lot of coaches are like, you got to go in 100%. And I'm like, no, you don't because you got kids and bills.
Exactly. Exactly. And what I say is that it turns so quitting your job sometimes makes something you love something you hate.
Yeah,
'Cause then if you're baking cakes 24 hours a day, you know? So I
exactly.
really like that, and I talk to a lot of women who are over the age of 50 who are empty nesters now, and they don't know what to do, And most of the time, we as women have been doing all this stuff for free in PTA, at the church, at the community thing. And so we do have skills. So do
Mhm.
you work mostly with women? Who are the people that you serve?
Well, I'm moving into courses and master classes now, so I haven't gotten that far, but
Hmm.
on a similar but different measure, I actually started and I haven't gotten the programs off the ground. I started a nonprofit a few years ago to help women re-enter the workforce and gain the skills that they need to make decent money. So there is a need to teach people all these tech skills, and that's what hopefully my nonprofit will do once I can get some funding for it. But that's on a similar note. Is just yeah, just I would recommend that women start small, and if they don't have anything to prove what they've done, because a lot of people want to see your social proof, volunteer for a nonprofit, get a nonprofit, help them. They always need people
Wow.
to do graphics or do social media or whatever it is. Like if let's just say somebody wanted to be a bookkeeper, well, maybe they could go to an event and they could help that nonprofit keep, how the cash keeps coming in and credit cards to an event and silent auctions. They could do that. And that is something they can put on their resume or they could put on, well, what they do because they did that. You can gain skills with nonprofits and help people at the
And
same
even
time.
make connections, because
Yes.
even the person working at a nonprofit may have a business or
Yeah.
anything else. Just putting yourself out there. I really, really like that. So tell me about some of your other ventures. So I heard two things on the streets. One, you like chocolate. I love chocolate. But you also lost a lot of weight. Did you lose
Yes.
the weight eating chocolate? Please tell me that's a
I
yes.
actually did, and that's I'm I'm kinda moving away from the whole fitness wellness platform just because um, it's really hard to get business that way because, people want, like, fake lies, and I don't tell them the lies. I'm like, "You're
Ooh,
not gonna lose 10 pounds tomorrow." But
exactly.
but I was always like my tagline is actually my tagline for the first book I wrote is "Have your cake and lose weight too." And I'm
Ooh,
always talking about losing weight without giving up everything you love
a
because
girl
that's
after
how
my
I
own
did it.
heart. A
See?
girl after my own
It
heart.
was after my heart too. And so what I did is I started walking the kids to school. That was the first thing. I was a vegetarian. I like to tell people this who did not eat fruits or vegetables. So, yeah, lots of junk food, that was my thing. But I started walking the kids to school, and then I started to make small changes in my diet, but every morning I would make oatmeal. I would have plain oatmeal with milk, but I would put chocolate chips in it because my motto was or my thought was any day that starts with chocolate has to be a good day.
Oh, I knew we would be friends. I knew I
See?
knew it was in the cards for us.
There you see? Soul sisters, that's what I say.
Yes. And so how long did it take? How long did you, where did are you comfortable saying where you
Oh, yeah,
started and
yeah.
where
I was about 200 pounds. Now I'm 5 feet tall. So if you're
okay.
5'10", 200 pounds is not that heavy. When you're 5 feet tall, barely 500 pounds, 200 pounds is a lot. I wore a size 20 and I just started small. It was after my dad passed away and
Mhm.
for right after he passed away in August of 2003. And for the first couple of months, I still just ate everything in sight. I don't know. I'm going on a tangent here.
I love
Um,
it. No,
I
go
ate
on.
everything in sight, and I was really heartbroken because I love my dad so much, and he was such a positive influence in my life. And then finally one day I thought, I used to teach aerobics back in the late 80s, early 90s,
Mhm.
before we were certified and anybody could just teach. And so I thought, well, I used to love teaching. I used to love helping people. I'm never going to lose weight because I've tried so many times, but maybe I could get in better shape. So then I
Wow.
started walking the kids to school and I did that every morning. And then after about a month or so, I got this DVD. It was Tammy Lee Webb. It was I Want That Body. And how it was is they have like 20-minute legs, 20-minute abs, and 20-minute upper body. So one day I would do 20-minute legs at 5:30 in the morning. I got up before the kids went to school. I did 20 minutes. And the next day I did like the 20-minute abs. And the next day I did like 20-minute upper body. And I just did that over a course again of probably another month. And then I really wanted to spin, but I'm like, "Ugh, I just did I was afraid." So after 3 months, I'd actually lost 29 pounds while
Really?
still eating chocolate and not killing myself. And then I went to my first spin class, and it was so hard, but I fell in love. Eventually, I ended up teaching spin, and I also forgot to tell you I became a certified personal trainer as another side hustle.
I think this entrepreneurship is a journey. So, and I think it's important that you found profession, money in something that you were doing anyway and you love to
Right.
do. It was a part
And
of the journey.
And the
But
thing
I'm
is, like,
impressed with that. It's amazing.
well, my day job, my day job is sitting in front of a computer, so that let me be active and interact with people because I had training clients come to my home. I would teach spin, I would teach bar, teach different classes, so I got to get out. It was a perfect what do you call it? Symbiotic relationship where I
Right.
could do more work, but I could also do something that I love that helped me move.
So you said that was part of your emotional healing as well.
Yeah, very much so. Just for me, like it gave me so much confidence. That's what I tell people. It wasn't about the weight. It was about getting stronger, and the stronger you get when you do different like with anything, not just exercise, when you do something like when you started the show, it was probably really scary, and every episode you get stronger and more confident, and that's the
Yes.
same thing with classes. Every time you could do 5 push-ups, and then suddenly you can do 10. And you're
Wow.
like you just not only you're getting physically strong, you're getting emotionally and mentally stronger. That's why I keep like, "You gotta do it. Just try this workout, do this, do that," because it has so many benefits. You can tell I get all excited. I'm like, "Oh."
I do too. And I hear so many themes that I have to communicate to some of my clients and members of the academy is that just don't stop. People want the perfect software, the perfect microphone, or the perfect sales funnel. That does not exist. Just start and keep moving. And to me, that's what I hear you saying.
Yeah, exactly. You're never gonna I wrote in my book and I have a 3rd book that's almost ready, and I say it's never gonna be a good time. You're never gonna be less tired. You're never gonna be less busy. So why are we waiting? Just go for a walk right now. It's 20 minutes because my walking podcast, I started it when the pandemic was in its heyday because people couldn't go to the gym and so it's a motivational walking podcast where you go out, I coach you on a walk. Some of the episodes, you have a choice of background walking music or not, and I just inspire people and motivate them and teach them things because just movement is magical, and it really helps your focus. It's not again, not about losing weight, it's about getting more energy, getting focused, and just building that confidence.
And really building balance in the middle because
Yes.
we as moms and wives, we're used to we can do that for other people. And but for ourselves, making sure that we build a cohesive balance. So even if no matter what your business is, you need some physical outlet that gets the stress out. And so I'm really
Exactly.
excited. So in the show notes, when we get everything together, we'll make
Yeah.
sure we'll let people be able to connect with you,
Okay.
download the podcast because we're all about podcasts over here. I need to be walking somewhere, but I'm
Mhm.
so excited to hear your story because I feel like it's counter to my it's similar to my story. And at this age, and I didn't know when you signed up for the podcast, I didn't know your age, I didn't know your
Yeah.
story, I didn't know anything about you. But to be a woman of a certain flavor and
Mhm.
season, and that we're still moving and shaking, it is never too late to
No.
start what you want to do. So, of all your ventures that you have done, what has been your favorite, or are they all kind of similar, or they answered a need at the time?
In terms of ventures, I think well, they did fit a need at the time. I think in terms of what was my favorite thing? I think it's writing the books
Oh wow.
because I could just sit there. Sometimes you can probably relate to this. Sometimes I love to be around people and talk to people, and other times I'm like, go away, I don't want to talk to you. So when I'm in my I don't want to talk to you mode, I could write my book or I could work on design not products, projects, so you can balance those different parts to your personality. But I think writing the books was my favorite part.
So let's get into the book. So you said
Okay.
there are three,
Yeah, the
two,
third
and
one
one is on
is
the way.
yeah.
Okay, one is in the oven. So
Yeah.
so are they're fiction, self help?
Oh, there are weight loss books and 21 Days to Change Your Body is the name of the first one. It was written in 2012, but it's all still good information. But it tells you how to make small changes, take small steps, still eat chocolate, and lose weight. But it's from a healthy perspective, not a six pack abs. I don't have six pack abs. After 80-pound weight loss, there's going to be a 6 pound of a 6 pack of Reese's peanut butter cups. There's not going to be ever a six
My
packer down
kind of
there.
girl.
And I don't care. I don't know who's going to see my six pack. That's right. Nobody. So,
Exactly. I think that it's everything that is promoted in extremes now.
yeah, I
So if you start in a business, you're gonna just immediately your 6-figure year. If you're gonna have surgery or have exercise, you're gonna be perfect and healed. Everything's gonna be new, new hips, new boobs, new everything.
Yeah, mine are not new. They're, like, really kind of, like, tired.
Mine's are very tired, very tired.
They're taking a break.
I don't think mine's ever off break.
Yeah, which mine are either, so
But I love it. I really, really do. So if you had to talk to yourself, I don't know how far back would you go? If you had to talk to yourself, maybe back in that first studio where you were doing graphics, what would you tell yourself about entrepreneurship and your journey and really to encourage yourself at that time?
well, back then, things were really different than they are now, so there weren't as many resources
Mhm.
available. I would say that I would have had to learn, which still not good, is being more assertive and going out and talking to clients and
Mm.
going to mixers, because back then there was no way to meet clients. Now I've been lucky with this other business since 2007. I don't even have a website and I do web design because it's all by referral only.
Wow.
But back then, before I built all of that, it was really hard to try to, get clients because I placed ads in the American media, the yellow pages that nobody knows what it is anymore.
I know what
And it,
that yellow pages are.
see, and I it was just it was really much harder back then because you didn't have social media. It was a lot harder to reach people. So I would have told myself, "Don't be afraid," but I wasn't confident enough because I was younger. Don't be afraid to go to mixers. Don't be afraid to talk about your business because people want to know what you do, and I never wanted to tell people because I didn't want to seem salesy.
Right. Do you think that it was a more male dominated where it was more acceptable back then that men could be assertive and be business people? Because me working in the accounting profession, it was always mostly white men who I worked with
Mhm.
who were my counterparts. I think that may have been part of what kept us in our place, like nice girl kind
Yeah,
of.
because they don't I was a woman in web development, and that was, like, insane because there's more, but back then there were almost none, and I
Mhm.
remember my ex-husband actually worked for me. He was, in the hotel business, and then I trained him how to do graphic design. Turns out that he was actually better graphic designer than I am. I'm like, "What? How dare
That means
you?"
you're a good teacher. That means you're a
Well,
good
I guess
teacher.
well, he has the talent too, but so anyway, it was my business and he kinda worked for me technically. I remember one time this potential client called up and I was, "Oh, yeah, well, let me help." He goes, "No, no, I wanna talk to the man." And I was like, "Excuse me, this is my business and he works for me. Wanna talk to the
Wow.
man."
I remember those days, and I think things are changing on the surface,
Yeah,
but I don't know that we as women as a whole are really empowered just by the way that it's so easy for us to fall back into that to not and sometimes we can't be assertive unless we're mean or something and telling people
yeah,
so I think that it's something that we're still grappling with and learning how to be in the forefront.
right,
And
and
2, we were
set
raised by
boundaries.
mothers who served my mother served, domestic roles or that kind of thing. So we're finding
Right.
our way. But this next generation, whoo, they are on the move.
They're kicking butt, and I don't know about your situation, but I really love how the younger people, like the men are taking an active role in raising their kids, equal role to the
Yes.
women. I love that. This new generation to me is so amazing.
Exactly. I have 2 girls, 24 and 28, and they are like adventurous. And so I look at them sometimes in fear, and I'm like, "Why are you doing that?" Because I'm sounding like my mother or grandmother, but really they have wings are cut off of them.
Right.
And hopefully I don't know if they saw that in response, if they felt sorry for us and they said they weren't going to be that way or we
Mhm.
inspired them. I'm not sure which is the truth. But I'm really impressed with that. And I think that we have a story to tell to be able to have lived. So we got to peek into the generation before us and
Right.
see where women were in business. Like, and then in your experience, the gentleman saying, I want to talk to the man. How dare you?
I was so shocked. I grew up in Norway, so from like 8 to I was almost 18, and in
Mhm.
Norway, women are truly equal. So when I came here, it was a nasty shock. I'm like, "Oh
Wow.
my god." So then when that happened, I was like, "What? Wait, what? Wanna talk to the man? Well, the man's not in charge." I didn't say that like that, but
Right.
I wanted to.
So you came with it. So what was it? Was it really shocking? Is it so what year was that when you came?
1984. I was born in the US and then I went to here in California and I went to Norway when I was 8. And then just before I turned 18, I ran away from home and I came all the way back to the US. And I started working in Los Angeles and I saw some worked at some doozy jobs down there. But it was different because I guess because I was in a little bit more of a Hispanic area where culturally they get married earlier. So,
Mhm.
like, I would work with people and they'd be like, "Okay, so, like, when are you getting married?" And I'm like, "I'm 18. Why would I get married?" Because in
Yes.
Norway, they don't get married if they ever do, or they just have live-in relationships. So that was like a surprise to me because culturally it's different. It's like you are more expected to get married earlier.
Right, and I think even still, there's a lot of shows, The Bachelor, some others that are focused on getting not finding love necessarily, but getting married. Marriage at First Sight is another show that I've
Yeah.
watched. There's a lot of focus on getting it. So I don't that's what I meant about I don't know that we really have gotten that far off from where we were.
No, I don't I
I'm
don't think.
then the whole we won't even get into the Housewives franchise. So I think that there is, and I'm not speaking against marriage or for.
No, no.
I think that we are conducting ourselves in similar ways, but it's just in a different package.
Yeah, and
Eh,
it's different. This country is so big that I don't wanna get into all that, but it's just different. It's hard for us to grow and hard for women to get ahead when you've got those people over there in the tiny booty shorts and the six-pack abs, like, they've got the sexualized women, and then you've got the I guess there's a middle, and then you've got the, like, bitchy that they call bitchy. You're
Yes,
like, sort of women over there, and I'm like, "Well, I mean, can't we be all of it?" Like, but do we have to compartmentalize and break
exactly.
ourselves up into labels? I hate labels. I change labels all the time in terms of business, what I do.
Exactly. And that's why I love to hear about your entrepreneurial journey because you're not afraid to talk about things. I know a lot
No.
of when I'm invited on a podcast, like I can only talk about one thing, but entrepreneurship doesn't work that way.
No.
Then I want people to hear what true entrepreneurship is like. If we think about like Colonel Sanders and then KFC and you hear about all of the iterations of business they went through before they got to the
Yeah.
thing and so I really appreciate you. And so I want oh, the other thing I want to talk about. Well, I want you to come back because we got to hear
Okay.
more about the chocolate and
Oh,
what's
yeah.
going on in your life because we don't know the way we roll. We don't know what you're going to be doing 2 3 years from now.
Right.
It's going to be another iteration, but it will be entrepreneurship. But I want to talk about the nomad stuff. Like, tell me about those adventures and how you made that decision and how it got started because that's outside of my norm altogether, and I think entrepreneurs need to understand, especially in this age, that it can be done. So
Yeah,
please
and
tell us about that.
because my job is digital, except for the training and the spinning, my job can be done anywhere. So I've gone out long periods 2 different times, and I've made little trips. The first time was in 2015. I only went for, like, 5.5 months, because we had to move. My roommate and I had to move out. My kids were I had them 50% 2 week or no, week on, week off, whatever that
Share
however that
custody.
works out. Yeah,
Yeah.
shared custody. I blocked that out of my mind. No, I'm just kidding. And
I
so
see.
I
I
I
see.
talked to the kids because I was exhausted from trying to make ends meet. I got no child support or alimony when I after my divorce, and I really had to start my business from scratch, and I worked so hard. And so I talked to the kids and I said, I really want my sister lives in Thailand. She actually founded a nonprofit that helps animals. And then she also has a cooking school, which a cooking school was funding the nonprofit.
Mm,
So I asked, I really want to go. I want to be with my sister for like 5 months, and I talked to them, and my ex-husband was then getting married again. I really adore his spouse. I'm like, and I knew that the kids would be okay living there for like 5 months. And I bought them a ticket to come visit me before I came back, so before I left. So then I went for first almost 6 months, and I traveled. I spent most of the time in Thailand, but then I also went to Singapore and Bali, but I worked everywhere I went. I would find internet cafes. I love working out of coffee shops in different countries because I can hear new languages and I get like new smells, new experiences. The second time I took the kids with me, they weren't kids anymore. When my daughter graduated high school in 2017, Again, every time I rent a house, it seems to go on the market, right? So it went on the market again. So if you wanna sell a house, have me rent it, and then it will sell like that.
Is that a service?
I guess it is
A
now.
service that you offer?
So then we packed up all our put our everything in storage and we went to travel, and we went to all different places. My son works with me now, but he was doing work for, like, my brother-in-law and stuff, so he was working also, so we went as digital nomads, all of us. My daughter just was along for the ride, and we traveled, and then in December of 17, my daughter I forgot the times, my daughter went home, and my son stayed with me, we worked, we went to different places, like, we went to Cambodia, we went to again, back to Singapore and traveled around, then we went to Greece for a while, then we went to Romania, so we traveled different places, then we went back up to Norway, then he went home, and then I just hit the road. I went to Poland, I went to Germany, I went to Czech Republic, I went to places so this is kind of funny. I was trying to find somewhere to go over that summer, and I knew that I couldn't afford Italy or Spain because, I was working the minimal that I could so I could still enjoy. So I wasn't making a lot of money, but I was making experiences. And so I was asking these 2 women that I met, I think I met them in Malaysia. They were from I think they were actually from, both of them were from Turkey. I said, "Where should I go over the summer?" And I thought they said Syria. I'm like, "I don't think I wanna go to Syria." But they both said Serbia, that's a different country. I'm like, war-torn Syria may be cheap, but it's not what I'm looking for."
Exactly.
I ended up
But
going
how
to
do you
Serbia.
sustain yourself? How do
My
you where do you stay? How does that work?
I've stayed in over 50 Airbnbs. I've stayed in a couple of hotels with the kids, but they're all Airbnbs because I work for myself, so I have to get a place with good internet. That's all I care about.
Okay.
And then I would just work with my clients. And so because I'm a night owl, it doesn't matter. I could stay up late and talk to them in the middle of the night, my time, and when they were awake, because whatever sacrifices I had to make was worth it to let me
Mm.
do this. This was very important to me to
So you had
see
clients here
places
in the
in the world.
States when you were working
Yeah.
overseas. Oh, wow.
So I serviced
Wow.
all my existing clients while I was there, and I would finish a project and then I would move on.
That is I'm really blown away and impressed because I'm so I think it's fear. Fear are you do you consider yourself to be a fearless person?
No, not fearless. I have fear, but I don't let it control me anymore. And I always
Wow.
ask myself, what is the worst that can happen? So if the kids and I mean, aside from being in a plane crash or some or terrorist attack, the kids and I, like, we put everything in storage, we go there. What is the worst that can happen? When I travel somewhere, what is the worst that can happen? I'm gonna say that everywhere that I've traveled has been a lot safer than the US, and I was
Mm.
out walking by myself at night,
Wow.
no fear at all. I just felt that I don't know, it's a whole different vibe, but it's freeing when you can find your fear and conquer it, and when you can give up everything. Like, people tell me, "Oh, you're so lucky." Well, lucky and lucky, I gave up everything. I let someone drive
Mm.
my car, all my stuff was in storage. Only thing I could carry with me was what could fit in my backpack, and if it
Mm.
couldn't fit in the backpack, it couldn't come with me. If I bought something new, something else had to go. So but that was all worth it to me
Wow. Wow.
to to do
And I
that.
guess those experiences are helpful in how you even design for people, creativity, you have a world perspective that you could bring. I think that's amazing. It really is.
Yeah,
And you've given me something to think about because all I think about is sitting here
and
outside of Washington, D.C. and drinking hot coffee. That's all.
yeah. Well, I wrote I did a I guess I think I did a social media post on one of my Facebook pages years ago, or I think it was something I said, like, something like, "It's not the fear of travel, but it's the fear of not traveling." For me, the fear of not seeing the world is bigger than the fear of, "I know this life
Mm.
already. I know how expensive California is. I know what it is to drive to Target. I wanna do something different, live, experience something different." And when you're
I'm
self-employed, you can
surprised that
do
there's
that.
no book
And
on
that's
that.
why I still
I'm
do it
surprised that you don't
because
have a book on that or
there probably is, but I should write one, especially for
yes.
middle-aged women whose kids have flown the
Exactly.
coop.
That's me.
because it's so it's
I
amazing.
I I think that
I said, "Do you know how many times I bought yogurt in a different country only to find out when I got home that it was sour cream because I couldn't read the letters and Google Translate doesn't work." I'm like, "Okay, this is sour cream again."
but that's a story. And I think we're so
I
fearful.
have a
I
lot of
think that
mistakes like that.
and nothing against the years of raising our kids, but I think that when the limitations are gone, you're free. You don't even know how to be free. You don't even know how to go on a trip. I've planned my first
Yeah.
post-pandemic girls trip, and we're going out of the country with some women, and I'm like, what are we doing, who's my roommate, because I never had to think about that. I travel with the same little crew all the time, little people, Disney World, usually there was a mouse involved or a beach or something, so it is a mind shift. And I'm getting there. I'm getting there. I'm not where you are, but
But
I'm getting
that's
there. I'm
good.
getting there. So I've enjoyed our time together. Again, thank you for agreeing to. You have to come back because I believe there's going to be more books. So I'm just going to wrap it up and say thank you for
Okay.
your time today. I
Okay.
am so honored that you would come and share your story. And the goal of my podcast is to show real entrepreneurs, real who do real businesses that make real money. And I loved even when you were talking about the health business that you weren't going to lie to people. And I want to be transparent where we show people this is what real business looks like. And I think Helen, that you are the representative of what real business and what real entrepreneurs look like. So thank you for coming. I appreciate you. And we're gonna get all of your
Oh, thank you.
information. She has so much going on. We're gonna have to do some homework to really make sure that we have a good contact list so people can get the walking podcast, the books, and learn more about you. So we'll have that down in the show notes. But thank you. Is there something you want to leave the Plan to Prosper Small Business Academy with? These are little entrepreneurs just like me. We're trying to figure out what to do. What would you tell us just to sum up our conversation?
I think, the one piece of advice I give people is that why side hustles are good if you already have a business is because let's just take my design, for example. When I was doing design, it was busy. The last half of the year was crazy busy. People want to get, expenses out before their
Hmm.
taxes, right? You know that. And then, but then in January, my business would slow down, January, February, March. Well, then my training
Wow.
business would pick up because people wanted to lose weight. So I had a business that would support each other during seasonal ups and downs.
I think that's a good principle to follow. I really do. I think that's awesome. So I really appreciate you
So
coming.
that
That
would
is
be my
awesome actually.
recommendation.
Yeah. So I think that I'm stuck because I'm kind of pondering that. Like a seasonal hustle thing. Like your business is complement. You do not have to do the same thing all 12 months of the year. Yeah. So I appreciate it.